On the night between the 29th and 30th of November, a cold drop made its way towards the areas of Valencia known as Olla de Bunyols, Ribera Alta, and Horta Oest. It's been reported that nearly 400 liters per meter squared of rain was registered in a single hour. My apologies, systems are suffering errors due to this. Please excuse my brevity. I'm trying to avoid system failures. From there, the water made its way downhill towards two main riverbanks, the Turia and Rambla del Pollo, located closer to the sea, in an area known as Horta Sud. The Turia registered a record amount of water in its new channel. Luckily for the city of Valencia, it was able to operate without issues. However, Rambla del Pollo was not so lucky. The water overwhelmed the unkempt waterway, which spilled over into a muddy wave that carried away trees, cars, and nearly 1,900 reported disappearances. This is due to the fact that the official warning was issued at 2011 hours, when the overflow took place across several towns hours prior, catching several people by surprise entirely, since, although the Ribera Alta registered heavy rainfall, in towns closer to the sea like Catarroja, it was barely raining. And yet, soon enough, many places would be engulfed by occasionally 2 meters of water and mud. Nature struck hard, and the damage was made worse due to the state of the infrastructure in regards to the waterways. Regardless of this, the true scale of the tragedy began surfacing on the 30th and 31st of October. The death toll has been slowly increasing, currently sitting above 200. The slow speed of this increase is due to what took place in the days after the disaster. In Spanish law, the state of alarm can be declared when certain situations result in the inability to provide safety, control, and the needs to the people. It allows for the suspension of certain protocols and bureaucratic procedures that would slow down the need for swift action to resolve critical situations. The situation left in the wake of the cold drop was thousands of disappearances and many towns without working drinkable water or electricity across an area of more than 10 kilometers. And while Valencia has ample emergency services, this situation has saturated these resources, having several civil guards and police on shifts exceeding 24 hours. By the 1st of November there was no state of alarm and no full-scale deployment of the army or any adjacent emergency services. The citizens of Spain, seeing this, began to take matters into their own hands. Organization emerged as crowds of dozens of thousands of people crossed the Turia into the affected areas on foot, walking sometimes more than 6 kilometers to shovel mud, clear debris, deliver food, hygiene products, clothing, and water to the people still living there. As the gravity of the situation grew, so did the involvement of the national government and the regional autonomic government. Central government expressing that if Valencia needed help, they just needed to ask. The army showing up, first as a few hundred, then as a few thousand. The President Pedro Sánchez, the autonomic President Carlos Mazón, and King Felipe VI, with Queen Letizia, visited the area on the 3rd of November. Their visit, however, came with the prohibition of volunteers from entering the majority of the population areas, a prohibition that thousands ignored and were able to circumvent to offer help and show their anger towards their leaders. The President Pedro Sánchez fled the scene. Carlos Mazón and Felipe VI remained, but their stay was not very warmly welcomed. So now we come to the questions that have been answered. The death toll will doubtless increase further, since the rescue efforts are delayed in the absence of official manpower, and this tragedy has created much anguish. Anger is directed at the system, left, right, and center. If the citizenry look for tools and methods to have their will heard by the political system, they will find, and have found, none. Why would a political system allow for nearly 500,000 people to suffer, many without running water or electricity? Because that political system doesn't depend on those people. This is why economic help hasn't arrived to La Palma or Lorca, and if it does arrive here, it will be too late. In Spain there is no democracy. There are no mechanisms available to the nation to exercise political power. The oligarchy of the party state is to blame for this, while they blame each other, trying to win favor and carve a bigger piece of the pie. So perhaps it's time for Spain to change the bakery. We are losing